back with the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series here in Montreal, Canada, as we wrap up day number 1. The only thing that hasn't been wrapped up are the amazing games. We got one more amazing one to bring to you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nathanius, joined on the desk by Pig and Zombie Grub. It has been an electrifying first day. So many upsets, so many surprise results. We've got actual dark horses coming through here. It's been crazy. Zombie Grub, the results, just mind-boggling.
This doesn't, I went to Austin as a viewer, as a fan, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. That was also a lot of like 3-0s and 2-0s, right? And I was like, well, that just is a weird tournament. This one's shaping up to be kind of the same thing. Not nearly as many sweeps, but still just like, well, maybe you got out, but why are you first? I don't mean that disrespectfully, but like, dang, like what happened? It's happening all over the place. So I think the most recent result I got in was that Scarlet did beat Hearthstone. So other than that, just the other ones we're talking about, a laser already out, BlizzCon Dream is basically dead for him, unless I think it is actually dead.
Yeah, it is, I believe. And at the same time, that does open up a lot of opportunity for other players, as he was in that 8th spot going into the tournament. So with him no longer being able to gain more points, a lot of those players in that kind of 9th through to like 20th spot suddenly have a much higher chance of getting through. So that's going to be, you know, with every failure, it's an opportunity for someone else, right? So it's kind of the brutal nature of competition.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an exciting time to be at Montreal, right? Because then, especially after day 1, we're all like number crunching, and then there's this whole aspect of like, if Cyril doesn't get the championship, it's someone else gets like bumped down.
I mean,
like, oh,
in control back there is going full Doctor Strange. He's like just insane number crunching happening right now. Actually, can't even communicate with him. He is really, really stoked to do that next match. As the scenarios are getting really insane. It's awesome, and it's weird because we're seeing now like some consistency out of Haas, who's like, yeah, I'm out of my group. It wasn't just a fluke. Apparently still able to catch people off guard and play very well. Our next match, our final match of the day, is going to be ShoWTimE versus SpeCial, Terran versus Protoss. And I think this is a great one. ShoWTimE is a player that we've been talking about coming up in his form. We were talking about the practice in Korea. And SpeCial is a player that we always kind of talk up. But ShoWTimE has been, you know, he's reached higher heights than SpeCial has in WCS.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny as well, because we talk a lot about his time in Korea, training over there with ShoWTimE. It was like 2 days after he got there, he played an online cup and he 3-0'd stats and 3-0'd innovation.
Nice.
And it was like, I guess the time in Korea's paid off after I just got off my flight. You know, ShoWTimE's always
it's
been
a passive buff sometimes when you're just there, you know?
Yeah,
it just makes you better.
Your biceps just expand, your APM, your fingers get faster. I don't know, something about the kimchi. I don't know, but ShoWTimE, he has been on fire. He had a slow start today, right? He went down 0-2 in that series earlier on against Nurtio, but he is ranked 3 in the standings. He's been very solid throughout the year. You know, he had the unfortunate loss to Haas in, I believe it was the quarterfinals or the semis at Valencia. But other than that, he's been very solid this whole year.
Yes, he has. But I feel like, you know, at the beginning of the day, I was like, these people have been so consistent. I got to expect them in at least the top 16 again. It seemed like a safe bet. They didn't happen. The opposite happened. So now I'm looking at SpeCial, and I'm like, well, SpeCial usually does very well, even against other Titans, but maybe not this time.
Yeah, and this is the interesting thing, right? We talk about how ShoWTimE lost that final, but SpeCial, as consistent as he is, has not hit that final point. We talk about how well he did at the Global Finals as well, one of the further getting foreigner players. But this is like, is this the tournament? We talk about this is like SpeCial's story every WCS. Is this when we know that he's going to probably make top 16 and all that, but we're going to talk about that a little bit more as the players are ready to be brought onto the stage. Smix, you ready to wrap things up for day 1?
I am, and Nathanius, it absolutely boggles my mind that it is these 2 players for our last match of the day. They're ranked 2 and 3 in the WCS rankings, respectively. It's insane that one of these players is about to be knocked out, but can't wait to watch the series. Let's bring it on. It's ShoWTimE and SpeCial.
Two players that should have easily been top 4 contenders in this tournament, now fighting for their lives here at WCS Montreal. ShoWTimE, at the very beginning of the year, had that 2nd place finish. He's doing extremely well point-wise. He's one of those players not super concerned about getting knocked out. And of course, SpeCial, another player that we do look to see over towards the Global Finals. Either one of these guys, they're not just talking about points. They want the prestige of actually getting one of these trophies at the end of the tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, they did already play in this group stage as well, of course. It wasn't shown on the mainstream, but SpeCial did take down ShoWTimE 2-0 in their first match already just about an hour or so ago. So they're both kind of coming into this where SpeCial has a bit of that edge. He did narrowly go down to Raynor, the ruiner of dreams. Raynor's just coming in and slaying everyone so far today. And that's obviously what's forced this showdown of such amazing players in an elimination match. But, you know, SpeCial's got the edge. I heard word there was some Marine tank pushes going on and some things catching ShoWTimE out. So it's going to be cool to see what happens in the repeat series. You know, does SpeCial just dominate through or does ShoWTimE adjust?
Yeah, we've seen a good few of those even in the, I think, the Korean scene as well for the TvP. So not surprised to see SpeCial doing some Marine tank shenanigans versus Protoss.
Especially because he is like, you know, almost bona fide Korean at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I could talk a lot about a lot of different things, but then we do have to hone in on the maps and the fact that Protoss do typically struggle, and it would be against something like a tank push where they're like, oh, that's an abusive spot. Hold on here.
There's a good few of those spots on these maps as well by naturals oftentimes as well.
If they manage to get very, very close to, if not identical, map choices for this one, then I think it might reverse. I think ShoWTimE might be able to take it because now he'll be like a little smarter against those positional plays. But it's not like it's a cheese. Like if you know it's coming, then you have a better chance. Like, no, like SpeCial's still going to be a good player, but I think that ShoWTimE should have a better chance after facing him so recently and getting that practice on the new maps.
Yeah, I mean, they're both historically about 50-50 versus each other. So these guys have played many times. They've traded series back and forth. Either player could take it out.
All right, let's find out who's going on and who's going home here as we finish off day one of WCS Montreal.
Thank you, Nathanius, and our wonderful guest host. We're in the final match of day number one at WCS Montreal, and it's a heck of a match as ShoWTimE and SpeCial will square off. Neither of these guys have the fear of not making it to BlizzCon. They're so darn good, they're both gonna go. They instead have the fear of who's gonna advance in this tournament, try and step in the way of SpeCial. As we go into the lower right-hand side, it's the German Protoss, ShoWTimE.
Of course, a previous WCS champion, and he has been the best Protoss player from Europe for quite some time. But he's missing a couple of titles, Jeff. Like, it's been a while. On the left top side, we're looking in the main base with our fantastic Mexican Terran player. Give it up for SpeCial.
You know, to your point, Roddy, the scene got interesting. Last year we had Neeb really catch fire and assert himself as one of the absolute best of all time. And then this year, to kind of even one-up that, SpeCial's taken it, I mean, he's just gone even higher.
Yes. He's not on fire. He is a raging inferno that is not stopping for anything.
I think of the conversation between Hulk and Thor, and he's like, no, me, raging fire, you, like little campfire. And here we are. Now, one of these players is not going to continue on into the playoff bracket, which is just crazy. And the casters in the green room and behind the scenes have just been mumbling to themselves, like, these results have been outrageous. Some really good players are going to be missing from that day number two, and one of these two guys is going to join them.
Yes, it is absolutely nuts. The things that I've seen today, when I look at these pages, I'm questioning myself. Like, am I an expert? Do I really follow this scene closely? Because half of these results in these groups, I just wouldn't have called. You see players being eliminated that I would have expected to make it into the round of 8 at least. Not even worried about making it out of respective groups, but this is also, of course, one of them. Now, this one I always knew was going to be very tough because I don't underestimate Raynor. That kid is something else. He is something special. And if it's not this year yet, then it's going to be next year where he will truly bring the fight to SteCial. Like, that's just a matter of time. We all know how freaking good Raynor is. But so are these guys. So that's why it was so hard to pick. And to see that we're going to lose either SpeCial or ShoWTimE already here in the round of 32. It's crazy, man. We know that both of them are in shape as well. Both these guys have worked hard over there in Korea. They're never lazy. They're never just don't practice for the sake of not practicing. No, they take this game very serious.
It's going to be a heck of a match. And we have a couple of cheeky workers going around here, actually. ShoWTimE was being very studious about trying to find out if there is some kind of proxy around the map. And, of course, that SCV parked in a suspicious spot. In fact, the team going to patrol, I imagine that will end up being perhaps a starport, but something along those lines.
Why Cyclones then, though? That's a little bit weird, right? If it would have been Hellions into a proxy starport, so they can pick up those Hellions very quickly.
A little bit faster Liberator or something, I guess?
Yeah, maybe it's Cyclones in a very fast lip. I think you're onto something there, Jeff. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, it could be Cloak Banshees, but it just is very weird and very, very risky, if you ask me. So I think the faster Liberator makes a little more sense, but that starport is still pretty far away.
And we did just get a result here as Marine is able to outlast True and will win that match. So for our German fans who are here watching ShoWTimE as well, you've got at least one champion advancing through, and that does mean True will be eliminated there, and I believe this is the unofficial word, but not making it to BlizzCon.
No, that's definitely not unofficial. That's super official, Jeff, because he was out of the top 8, and now he will never make it into the top 8. But that's also, you could say, surprising, right? The last 2 years in a row, True was there. This year, he's not there. And Hero Marine, one of those only guys that's in that 7, 8, 9, 10 region that actually does make it into the playoffs.
Yep.
So a massive victory for Hero Marine, and he obviously has very good papers now into making it into those global finals. But let's focus on these Hellions. There was a tech lab, I think, for a split second. Was it a reactor?
It's a Liberator.
Yeah, excuse me, but on the start. But he had something and he canceled it. Either a tech lab or a reactor. That seems like a tech lab.
I think it's a tech lab.
Yeah, it's cheaper.
He was thinking about it. That Cloaked Banshee play perhaps was queued up for a second, but then only just a second as it is canceled. Now behind us, we do have the Robotics Bay and a Forge for ShoWTimE. We did get word from that Analyst S that it was apparently Marine Tank that was kind of the bane of the existence for ShoWTimE. A Colossus or perhaps Disruptor play, a strong option here, as this is a little bit peculiar. So we're gonna have some Hellions trying to run by. They're gonna try to make a pass, and they do dart pass.
Oh, there's not much in the main base. There were a couple of Stalkers coming from the high ground, but he's already getting 5 probes. This is already a lot of damage, jeez. Jeez Louise, 9 probes going down this quickly, and now the Liberator shows up as well. This is a fantastic opening for SpeCial, a very painful one for ShoWTimE. Oh my goodness, he's losing a lot more as well.
Yep, 3 probes do go down, but the missed mining time, of course, in and of itself, a big deal. We did see the 3 Stalkers there. So we will, oh, actually, that's painfully pointed out here by our wonderful observer that perhaps this Liberator was actually even spotted at an early stage. But for ShoWTimE, who went down 0-2 earlier to SpeCial, this has got to be so frustrating, because already, as you said, the 12 probes that die, it's not quite a death sentence for Roddy, but it's darn close.
And also, he's opening up very defensively. This is not a crazy opening by ShoWTimE where he has potential to do damage on the other side of the map. No, this is the kind of Protoss opening where you sit back and you're basically a ninja warrior. You just fight everything off. You're not supposed to take any damage. If they really suicide units in your mineral lines, you could lose a couple probes here and there, but he lost way too many. Losing 12 probes when you open up this defensively as a Protoss is very painful.
He sees this Liberator, so SpeCial's going to play a little bit cagey, which is interesting. Some Terrans would actually, even though the Stalker's already there, siege it up. You'll get a couple of probe kills if they don't pull immediately, and even if they do pull immediately, it's the whole mineral line dislodged. But because he has no other actions out on the map, he's going to go ahead and pull back here.
I mean, SpeCial's up 6 workers. How often do we say that? That in this phase in the game, Terran is up 6 workers. Supposed to be the other way around. He's going into 3 bases very quickly as well. Love the Raven, finds that Observer immediately, locks on with those Cyclones. In general, I always have mixed feelings about Cyclone openings. Like, I think they're great for all-ins. But in the regular builds, I feel like they're very expensive. But this game, obviously, they served their duty, man. They distracted those units. It allowed the Hellions to get a couple of great shots off. And the Cyclones, you need to respect them. That's why the Stalkers left the main base. And that's when the Liberator showed up. So a really cool build here by SpeCial.
Have to agree. Now, one of the kind of interesting things to point out is that the Colossus production is still continuing. There is actually going to be that thermal lance right there. And the reason I'm pointing this out in particular is because there's already a Raven out. You can actually get a few disable shots off, and against Colossus in particular, they just turn off and they walk forward.
I know,
it's really terrible.
It's awful. The interference matrix is an excellent spell. Because often Protoss players also look at armies, and they look at the Terran army, they look at their own army, and they're like, actually with 3 Colossus I'm fine here. Yeah, with 3 you are. With 1, you're absolutely not. And that is what's most likely going to happen. Unless SpeCial gets sloppy and crazy with the Raven and someone ends up losing it, but that should never happen. I really love this game for out of SpeCial so far. And I think it's up to ShoWTimE to make some crazy moves. Maybe go for a counterattack. Maybe have your entire army somewhere on the map, and the moment that SpeCial moves out, you force a weird base trade where you can then, of course, recall home as well. But if you just sit at home, I am fearing the absolute worst scenario here for ShoWTimE. And that's exactly what you said, Jeff. Interference matrix, interference matrix. Colossus are like, let's run to the front of the fight, and then you lose them, and that's it.
Now, to play a little bit devil's advocate, I don't disagree with you necessarily that I think that is a tough call for ShoWTimE, but they call him The Wall. That's kind of his nickname amongst the pro gamers, and a big part of the reason for that is that if he gets up and going and starts defending, he can be impenetrable. He can be very difficult to crack, and that is kind of his forte. So it is hard to play from behind, and I definitely hear you and agree on the choice of, staying back and defending can be a very dangerous task, but sometimes SpeCial can get too aggressive. That is something that happens to him as well. And if ShoWTimE can pick off a few drops, maybe get a couple of counterattacks going, it's pretty good.
It feels weird to me to look at a game of ShoWTimE where he's got no War Prism. I understand
Yeah.
that this has maybe been a scary game for him to squeeze out that prism, but a Protoss without a War Prism is, I don't know, give me something cool, Jeff.
It's like a bear without fur. You know, it just looks weird, not nearly as effective. Probably gets a lower lifespan.
Nowhere near
as
as cute.
No, can't cuddle it.
So I'm a little bit shocked to see there's no pylon on this side of the map either. Like, I do like that ShoWTimE is dancing back and forth a little bit with his Stalkers.
Yeah.
And obviously he's buying time, but he's still being outmined. Guys, this is not common. Terran is not supposed to outmine
Yeah.
Protoss this much.
Kevin, to make matters worse, by the way, we actually already have Liberator range coming in, and that is something that typically is kind of a late game upgrade. When it happens, you really want to be transitioning to air. We're nowhere near Stargates. We're nowhere near air tech. It's usually that happens after a 4th or maybe 5th base. With these Liberators coming out 2 at a time at least off that proxy starport, it's going to be a problem.
No, you're spot on. I mean, unless you have an overwhelming amount of Stalkers and you can somehow maneuver your way around the Terran army. But it's not just Liberators. You still have to worry about those tanks as well. There you do have your first Stargate, but that obviously means you have to wait for a fleet beacon by the time that you really want to get Tempest out. And yeah, Void Ray, a surprise Void Ray. Nah, you need an overwhelming amount of Void Rays to ever make that work. And ShoWTimE is doesn't have the money and doesn't have the time either to squeeze out randomly 7 or 8 Void Rays. So that starport, you know, you can maybe make an Oracle to tag the army and get yourself in slightly better positions.
Yeah.
But I once again, I'm with you. This is not looking good at all for our German Protoss.
You know, that being said, though, okay, here's the push from SpeCial. I was just going to say, if he waits too much longer, a lot of these upgrades click in. The Protoss with their Chrono Boost can get ahead in upgrades or at least equalize. But it is going to come down to this conflict as our Terran player is pushing out. And these Liberators, again, they have range. And let's also keep in mind, the Raven's not been harassing. So that's a full energy Raven that's going to have everything available to it.
I mean, I don't see how ShoWTimE is ever going to be able to step into those circles. That's something you can maybe do if you're working with like 14 gateways and you can just go forward. Purify Novas will connect.
Not bad.
That's okay. He blinks forward, but immediately pays the price. You can see with a couple of Stalkers, he doesn't have the Stalker count you need to fight these kind of Terran armies.
And that range is a huge issue. This base is super siegeable as well. So the problem for ShoWTimE is on hand. He's going to get an Oracle out first from that Stargate, by the way. He is building the fleet beacon.
You need to give up this base.
In fact, he's building 2 of them.
I would love to see him counterattack now. I know that's a weird decision, but if you just see it, he's going to shoot forward a couple of Purifier Novas, and he gets a tank, but that is a very risky blink. Those Stalkers are not well protected. That is a good Purifier Nova, obviously, but I still don't think this is a position you can ever save. I love the counterattack with the Zealots, but that Nexus is, you just got to let it go.
And if both players are going to have their kind of peripheral bases sacked here a little bit. The difference, of course, is ShoWTimE loses the Nexus. And as Roddy's been pointing out, it is an exchange back and forth, and I don't mind what ShoWTimE's doing, but he's playing from behind, and he is trading out units. Now, that's sometimes this game does actually boil down to a little bit of a math equation, and that can be a problem.
The problem here is that he almost has no NTR. Like, you look at ShoWTimE's army, and sure, he's got 88 army supply, but that Tempest is... Oh my goodness, he made 2 fleet beacons.
Yeah.
That's not a cheap building to make 2 of, by the way. That's like 300 gas. No, I just don't see this happening for ShoWTimE. He needs to buy an insane amount of time, and that's why I would have loved to see him do something with that real army, with that main army. Because then you force a much bigger reaction out of SpeCial, rather than 1 or 2 Liberators and a couple of bio units to deal with 7 Zealots.
Nice little pick off there. Is it unfortunately the empty medevac? Now, that might have won space for these Liberators to come over here. And again, keep in mind they have range, so actually getting on top of them is really difficult.
Yeah, that one is too close, though, but... All right, then there's a Tempest on top of the other one, so this obviously is working out well. SpeCial's gonna try one more time. I don't know why he's so eager to doom drop the main, but he's gonna get a couple of units in. He's gonna get Liberators in a really good position. A couple of these Disruptors are gonna go down, but the Stalker count is incredibly low here.
Yeah, and this is actually what I was kind of talking about. Again, SpeCial's just got more stuff, so this in of itself was not a good trade for SpeCial, I believe, all things considered. And if he does a couple more of these, it can be a problem. He sometimes gets over-aggressive, Roddy. I'll tell you what, I've commentated a lot of SpeCial matches, and he seems to be ahead in the early and mid game. That late game, it's not even that he has a bad late game, it's that sometimes he can just kind of throw a lead away.
It almost seems like he panicked after he saw the first Tempest, and he's like, whoa, you know, I'm gonna miss out on my window here. I want to do way more damage than I've done so far, because I'm truly relying on my Liberators to win this game, so I don't want to give you the time to get 3 or 4 Tempests out, but I actually think he could have just gone over the ground. I don't think he needed to do those crazy drops into the main base that were clearly protected by Stalkers. That was really cute.
Well, he picks off the 4th base, and if he would have just relocated and played 4th base denial, or even just like dug into that spot, I think that could have been a very powerful play. I know the Tempests do prove to be a bit of an issue, but I think what we both agree on was the big drop into the main didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
These bio units definitely need to achieve a cancel on this fort base, and they will do so. They're even going to grab a couple of these stalkers, and that's really nice because ShoWTimE, once again, is not that rich, and he needs those stalkers to pick off a couple of units as well here and there.
Supply equalizing, though.
Yeah. No, I mean, ShoWTimE has done a marvelous job in just not dying because he looked like he was in a world of trouble, and now suddenly he does have an answer against these Liberators with advanced ballistics.
And Vikings are going to be the order of choice here for Special. It's not the most efficient way to do it, by the way. You can get those guys kind of picked off. One bad exchange, you lose all of them, you get that count reset, and the game can kind of leave you behind. Now, Special still does have that Raven out there, so that is an option.
That is very, very nice there by SpeCial, denying mining time. Once again, ShoWTimE is not rich at all. He's nowhere near maxing out, doesn't have a lot of money in the bank. Will blow up a couple of these SCVs. Still, quite a few disruptors, right? Still looking at 5 disruptors.
Does clean that up finally. And it's just now getting his 4th base and has been down at workers this entire game, by the way. And when I say down, I mean behind Special. This is something that Roddy said earlier, but we have to mention the point. That Oracle will die, but here comes the full-on force of Special. He feels confident. And going after this, he's going to push through. The Liberators trying to win some space. The Disruptor shot's connecting fairly well. The Colossus remain alive, though. And the anti-armor missile is about to wear off as 2 Colossus try to create some space. But the Vikings giving pursuit are going to clear the air, and that's some expensive stuff dying.
Yep, now Purifying Novas will blow up these Vikings. Talking about expensive stuff dying, that was a very expensive land there here by SpeCial. He was going to be able to pick off the majority of these forces, but he doesn't clean it up. I don't think he should have landed the Vikings there, Jeff.
Well, the fight looked like he was at a tipping point, so I don't blame him for that snap choice, but it's the Disruptors that are winning the day. The Colossus kind of got the reaction out of the Tempest, forced out the Vikings, but all of a sudden the Disruptors are winning the ground battle.
The Vikings are simply too slow on the ground to really, you know, avoid those Purifying Novas. No matter how good you are, there's not much you can do there. ShoWTimE blinks forward. He's going to be able to find a couple of these Liberators. Maybe gets a few SCVs there as well. One Purifying Nova can get so many SCVs. ShoWTimE.
I guess he's got bigger fish to fry. Roddy is behind this. His 4th base get disrupted once more. And now kind of a lazy rally as the Liberator dies for free. Both players don't have much in the way of a bank. Supplies are dead even. This game is really neck and neck, and it's going to be SpeCial going for a counterattack as these Disruptors try to score big hits, but he's just going to get out range of that one.
I love that orbital recall being used now to that base over here on the south side of the map. SpeCial's going to get the hell out of there with those 2 medevacs full of bio units. Loving this game. Really felt that ShoWTimE was on the ropes, but a couple of great Disruptor connections, so to speak. And, you know, even though he lost that 4th base, he made a hold there, and it turned out to be the right choice because he somehow got enough Tempest out.
Roddy, I got to say, though, this 4th base location is so tough. He's down to basically that base being so important. There's going to be a warp in here trying to defend this base as well. But it's not going to be enough as those Zealots do get on top of the Bioforce. But
it's just so low HP already. Like,
well, he's going to pick up.
Yeah, he's stimmed one more time, but a couple of Zealots, one slice, and all of those units are going to get picked off. SpeCial is losing more expensive units here on the north side, as I felt that Purifying Nova may have blown up a Protoss unit or 2. Only 2 Disruptors are left. If you look at that army of ShoWTimE, though, it lost the majority of its real power, though. No Immortals in the mix there.
Yeah.
There's no Storm, there's no Colossus. An army of Stalkers is going to get destroyed by a bunch of Marauders.
It's just the Disruptors that give teeth to that force. Even the Tempests have very slow rate of fire, but he is going to be able to siege this high ground and say, okay, you got to come to me now. And normally it'd be the Liberators that would win that space, but it's really tough for them, actually, with those Tempests.
I think if SpeCial scans that army, he's going to look at these like, well, all I need to avoid there are those 2 Disruptors, those 2 Purifying Novas. And if those don't blow up more than 10 supply each, SpeCial's army is way stronger.
I hear you, but I know that Terran players have like a PTSD reaction to Disruptors where even 2 of them can do something like that as a big force dies. He's going to try to get pursuit. He does spot out this new base. And as you said, Roddy, he's coming up the ramp.
Oh, no.
Oh, a Disruptor shot from out of nowhere does almost nothing. There's no splash damage here, but the cooldown on this Disruptors has to be ticking closer and closer. Where are the Purifying Novas? There's one shot. It's going to create some space, but not score any victories.
SpeCial pick up another Nexus over here on the left side. That's a beautiful call by our Mexican Terran player, who's still active, has picked up an insane amount of workers. These armies just pass each other. Zealot's going to get on top of it. Good blink there by ShoWTimE. But
well, he gets the full one.
ShoWTimE needs to get that high ground, and he needs to do something about the economy of SpeCial.
I love this move.
He's going to get that medevac, that's for sure.
He's going to get the medevac, he gets the high ground, but relocating that Terran force is so tough. There's the one Liberator, Oh my gosh, that disruptor goes so far forward. Now coming from multiple angles, the SCP square there, right flank does get hit.
Oh my goodness.
Purifying Nova hitting another shot. He's gonna fall back. This is where disruptors are much stronger. A pretty big shot there, but not that big. SpeCial, however, is on top of this force. Where's the Purifying Novas? But the Archon step forward as additional area of effect damage, and it's not much in the way of a Terran force as it pulls back. ShoWTimE scores a big win here.
What a game. I mean, those hits were massive. The first 3 disruptor hits were massive. He's going to blink forward. ShoWTimE is going to pick up this orbital command as well. What an insane game. This is so sick. But I actually think that the German Protoss has turned it around.
He absolutely has. The Medivacs don't have that much health either. They're going to pick up what's left, but even as they do so, that's good game. And ShoWTimE claws his way back after a brutal opening and gets the first win.
So unreal. It really felt when those Liberators with advanced ballistics were showing up.
Yeah.
And ShoWTimE was just sitting there knowing he had to sacrifice that Nexus, that there was almost no way out of him. And it started off with a little Zealot counterattack, a couple of good disruptor hits, and at one point, I still think that the drops in the main base, I almost felt that was a tipping point in the game, because that allowed ShoWTimE to win fights that I don't think he otherwise would have won. And yes, a Tempest is scary, but one Tempest doesn't push back 5 or 6 Liberators with advanced ballistics. You need the magical 3 or 4 Tempests to do that.
I agree with everything you said. I would also just add that the decision to return, to reinforce with Disruptor specifically, not add additional Colossus, not even perhaps going into Storm or going into Carrier like a lot of Protoss would have in that situation. He instead reinforces with an addition. It was that clump of like 6 or 7 disruptors that held on in that middle part of the game where ShoWTimE was just down in economy, down in bases. He was really in a tough spot, but because of those disruptors, was able to win fights where he had less supply and pulled ahead. It was just absolutely amazing.
Yep, and he worked with a lot less as well because he was outmined for the majority of that game. And even throughout the later stages of that game, Liberators were still being annoying with advanced ballistics. And that is extra annoying to deal with as a Protoss because you can't just warp in your traditional 3 Stalkers, blink forward, and take care of the Liberator. You're going to need often a lot more because Liberators are going to be in really good spots because they have that extra range. So either you have a Tempest there or a Phoenix, or you have to blink in 5 or 6 Stalkers, but you don't always have the money for that kind of stuff. So very well done. Great crisis management by ShoWTimE in that game. And it was a game where I really didn't have a good feeling about it for him at a certain point, but he has turned it around.
And I do have to say, I think this is another kind of example of one of those tough special moments. If you're a fan of his gameplay, and we've been able to watch him play over the years quite a bit, he very often gets ahead early in the game, is way up there mid-game, but that late game kind of sealing the deal is so tough for him. Now, of course, oftentimes when we see that, he's playing against the best of the best, the people that know how to get back into the game, and of course, ShoWTimE qualifies as one of those players. But SpeCial needs to seal the deal, and he's gonna have to do it here in game number 2, or he's going home.
It's going to be tough to bounce back mentally after a game like this. The map is Blue Shift over here on the right top side. We're looking at the main base of the German Protoss. He's up 1-0. It is ShoWTimE.
Mauer. And his opponent already sending a cheeky SCV out on the map. A little bit of proxy play from Mexico. It's the Red Terran SpeCial.
Now there are a lot of proxies. Obviously you can just do it for the Reaper. Sometimes it's 2 Reapers. Sometimes it's a Reaper and a Marauder. Sometimes it's a Reaper, Marauder and Cyclones. Sometimes you follow it up with tanks, Marines. ShoWTimE is going to scout very quickly, and he's going to notice that the barracks isn't here, and that SpeCial is taking 2 refineries, and that's obviously already a massive scout here for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, it's a must-do. I do find that the double gas, this day and age in the current meta, is a tough one, because it doesn't necessarily make you say, oh, this is 100% Cloak Banshee, or oh, this is 100% Marine Tank Push.
Yeah,
it can be all those things, or it can be varying shades of less than those things. So it's a tough read for ShoWTimE here.
And that's why you can see ShoWTimE is very diligent right now on trying to find out what is actually being proxied, because if you can scout a barracks with a reactor and a factory next to it, you're like, hey, this is going to be Cyclones, just to go to your point. But there are a lot of different variations. Often Terran players will build a factory at home as well as a follow-up to this. So it's just important. ShoWTimE not showing too much fear here.
No.
He's still scouting. And I think it's always nice when you know the factory is at home. You're like, okay, at least I've got extra time to get ready for whatever you're planning. And I think if I throw down a Nexus, I'm always happy to see that the factory is being built at home.
Yeah, I thought I saw a second SCV on the map. Maybe I'm crazy here. I think that's one of the SCVs returning back, but I thought I saw another one. I guess I'm not. I'm making that up. But I just agree with you again, Kevin. You're a pretty smart guy. That factory back at home, when you do a Nexus as greedy as that, against that kind of a proxy, you say to yourself, okay, with the double gas, now I really do think it is going to be something like Banshee or some kind of Starport play. But by the time it shows up, I add a Robo or even a Stargate opening at this point in time is totally fine.
That's weird as well. SpeCial started the bunker, but then he realized, like, no, it's actually way too late for the bunker. He made a Marine. Now, the Marine can obviously go back home. This is not a good opening for SpeCial at all. I mean, that Reaper really was not very successful.
Look at the Scout. Now he sees the command center back at home.
Does this Reaper even have a kill, guys?
No, I don't think so.
Wow. How often do you see that? Is SpeCial on tilt after the previous game?
I mean, he does a proxy opening, and ShoWTimE fearlessly just continues anyways. And now this probe sees everything at home. He cannot be feeling good right now.
Wow, the Reaper just got picked off, I think, by the Zealot, right?
I think that was a Marine.
Yes.
If that's the Reaper, then oh my goodness.
These are
I played
mistakes.
1,000 games of Protoss. I never killed a Reaper. He just did it with the Zealot.
I have 2 Stalkers and still lose 3 probes against the Reaper.
I'm not sure how it happens that way, but it does.
Well, the probe is going to get picked up in the main base, but this is not a good start at all.
Oh my gosh.
To make things even worse, I do think this Starport is going to finish up.
But just scouting it.
Yep.
Just scouting it enough. Like, here's the thing, Kevin. Whatever comes off of that is now not a big deal. But then the Starport has to float all the way back home to make that a part of the tech tree.
Is there an Oracle or is it Phoenix first here for ShoWTimE?
Phoenix.
I just love that. I really, really love Phoenix first. When you're
Picks up Hellions, stops the medevac.
It's good against everything.
Liberator.
Yep. Phoenixes are literally amazing against everything in these low eco games. Now, obviously, the weakness of Phoenixes are Widow Mines and Marines. That's not possible when they open up with a Proxy Reaper. That's not possible when they build a factory at home. Yeah, he's waiting as well. Now he can chase down this medevac. Oh my goodness, what a disastrous start so far for SpeCial.
And it's going to be a scouting medevac. There's nothing else on the map, so well, okay, here it comes.
He can maybe distract. Maybe these Hellions can bring SpeCial back in the game, but he's going to need some significant damage. I don't know where the Adepts are. I don't know if all the Adepts are staying at home. Okay, they're a little bit out of position, but it seems like
he walls in.
Wow.
This is fantastic play from ShoWTimE. It's just going to be a couple of probe kills, and that's after the proxy Starport gets scouted. It's after the medevac dies. No, the Hellions don't die, but the jig's up. With Phoenix out on the map, you come back, they're all getting picked up for nothing.
How many Cyclones is he building? Is that Cyclone number 3 and 4, or am I nuts? No, okay, he only has 2 Cyclones. So once again, these Hellions are going to try to get the probes. I mean, these Hellions are buying time. Like, this is beautiful play, obviously, by ShoWTimE, and it would have been way worse to lose 9 or 10 probes. But let's not pretend that wasn't at least something for SpeCial. I think that's something he can somehow work with.
I hear you. You're that kind of supportive father that everyone wishes they had. Where you're like,
it could have been worse. If that didn't happen, it would have been a lot worse.
All right. I'm not gonna. Far be it for me to rain on your super optimistic parade over there. Now the 3rd CC will get scouted as well, and he sees an upgrading barracks. He sees a couple of Cyclones. If I'm ShoWTimE, I think to myself, I'm in no danger for the next 5 minutes or so.
Absolutely.
And he's about to figure that out anyways with this harass. Every SCV that dies is another nail in the coffin, so to speak. And I would go to a 3rd Nexus. I mean, he might actually just try to end it anyways, but there's the 3rd Nexus coming
Gateway units and Phoenixes are pretty damn good if you're just going up against a couple of Cyclones. Obviously, Phoenixes can lift the Cyclones and they can't really do anything. And 4 Cyclones fighting all together is good. Now, I love the Mines. The Mines are going to keep SpeCial safe here against almost everything. These Phoenixes are still very successful and are going to be very annoying. But at least because of the Mines, I don't think SpeCial's in any danger of dying.
Well, he's down 10 workers. It's bad, Kevin. I know you...
No,
you're right now, you are trying to your Care Bear love streaming right now for SpeCial to get back into this. And he can, but he is way behind right now.
I don't disagree, but I have seen scenarios where games like this could have ended already. And I feel the Mines keep him alive and make sure it's not turning into a game where he loses 17 SCVs against those 3 Stalkers, the Phoenix and the 2 Adepts.
Okay.
So that's just, I am Mr. Brightside here. I know, Jeff.
It's fine. You're a good cop, I'm bad cop. ShoWTimE, now what choice does he make behind this? A lot of times players would just add 6 or 7 gateways and just say, I'm going to drown you in bodies. But ShoWTimE is Mr. Wall. He's going to play it fairly safe. We see him adding shield batteries at the 3rd. Of course, you and I know, and the rest of us, not really necessary, but that's just going to show the mentality he's in. He's in 1-0 on this best of 3, and it's an elimination match. Play it safe. Have some shield batteries. Get some upgrades going. Let's take this to the mid-game where I'm already up a lot.
Now, it is important that ShoWTimE eventually gets better units than he's currently working with. Because obviously, I love me some Phoenixes, but once Stim is done, which is going to be right now, against Widow Mine, Cyclone's going to save the Widow Mine for now. Like, I like everything that ShoWTimE has done over the last few minutes. He's still economically ahead. It's a beautiful game. But I want to see a Robo Bay, and I would preferably to see Robo Bay double Robo here. I really think that would be excellent. I don't mind Storm either in this situation, but I'd go for Robo Bay double Robo.
With you're about to see mass stalkers. There's going to be charge behind this.
I would love to see Colossus here. I think this is a great Colossus game.
Yeah. Or Storm. Basically anything. I think the two of us are just like, anything past this, but...
Yeah, anything other than gateway units, because SpeCial is working with 3 orbitals. I'm not saying that he can't win, because I do love some gateway units, but it's not a double forge gateway style either, right? You're working with a single forge.
There's the Robo Bay.
Yeah, I like that. I would love to see double Robo as well. Give me a second Robo, Jeff. Come on.
You know what I like about this too is even if he doesn't get aggressive, just having a big army like this off of 3 base, knowing you're ahead of your opponent. There's the second Robo. That's really safe, right? It doesn't have to be for offense. It can just be like, hey, if you move out to try and get back into this game, I will crush you.
Okay, I find this very ambitious of SpeCial. I mean, I guess he just assumes that ShoWTimE has stopped building Phoenixes, and SpeCial wants to get a tiny bit of map presence. But he should also know there is no universe where he's ever going to get anything done with an army this small after an early game that was as disastrous as it actually was.
I feel like one of the weaknesses of SpeCial is sometimes he just kind of locks into that mentality of I'm always attacking, I'm always dropping. And to your point, he might actually get to pick off. No, just barely misses out on that Phoenix. But he's going to try to do something. Now, the flip side of that, Kevin, is he's behind. So if you just sit back and make units...
No, come on. This is not something you can ever do. He's going to forward, blink. Obviously, SpeCial's going to end up losing a couple of units. But I think SpeCial, in a weird way, looks at this and he's like, hey, this is not as bad as I thought it was. I don't love it. I'm not in love with this game.
Yeah.
But I'm not looking at a 4-base Protoss that has 6 High Templars with Storm sitting there. And I'm also not looking at a 4 or 5-base Protoss that has a bunch of Colossus and Immortals out. I think he looks at that army and he's like, obviously I'm in trouble. And this has not been a beautiful game. But I definitely have a fighting chance.
And he does. Supply-wise, he's not that far behind, as people would be very eager to point out. It's just more situational stuff that we're a little bit worried about. He keeps losing units as they peel out here. Now, it is going to be Disruptors behind this, by the way, so not Colossus. These Cyclones are going to be sacrificial. If they can get that Robo, that would be huge. There's Stalkers up above them.
Stark's going to blink forward. Zealot's going to try to save the day, but that Robo will not go down. Okay, when it rains, it pours, doesn't it?
It feels good sometimes. I mean, you know, famously, you can be good or you can be lucky, and here it's just a little bit of both. The Bioforce down at the bottom is going to try to accomplish something, but as Roddy's been harping on this, it's just not enough. Even that blink forward, it's a mistake. It's not great, but look at the supplies. Now it's 20, or it was 20. It's about 10 supply advantage, and it's going to get higher here as ShoWTimE chases off.
Yep, SpeCial's going to lose a couple of units once again. In this game, we're looking at Disruptors already being out, while Liberators are nowhere near inside. And this obviously has to do with the fact that the starport was proxied as well early game. These Marauders are going to get blown up by that Disruptor. I mean, ShoWTimE is just winning, not 1 or 2 fights, but he's winning almost every single fight we're looking at in this game.
And this could be the game finisher as that blue wad army is making its way to the 3rd base here. Disruptors, only 2 of them, but the force fields pair up pretty nicely. Oh, and they go past the force field, only connecting with a couple of Marines there. He's going to pick up, shove the boys at ShoWTimE. And it doesn't look like this will be the finishing move, but it's going to be a hard hit.
New one coming in from the north side is going to be able to connect with a couple of these Marauders, and there's just nothing left with SpeCial, man. He's losing everything. He's losing a whole bunch of SCVs as well against these Zealots over here on the south side of our screen. GG, ShoWTimE will advance to the playoffs of WCS Montreal.
Looking dicey early in game 1, but ShoWTimE hit this other level and carried it into the 2nd game, where he just looked to be in commanding fashion. And if he plays like that, Kevin, he could be one of the guys that gets in the way of a player like Cyril, who's gone all year long without that much of a challenge.
It is a potential matchup, even though I guess ShoWTimE has too many WCS points for it to happen in the round of 16. But ShoWTimE, of course, as a 2nd place finisher, means that he will go up against one of the players that won his group in the round of 32. Could be a DNS, perhaps. I think that is a possible matchup, and I would love to see that as well. But congratulations to our German Protoss. It was a little bit of trouble in game 1, managed to turn it around. Let's hear what he has to say about the games while he's on stage with Sue.
Thank you very much, Rotterdam. Congratulations. You're moving forward, especially against a pretty tough opponent. I can't imagine you must be feeling pretty good right now, especially considering you had played him earlier in this group, and back then it was a 2-0 loss. So what was the difference between those 2 matches?
I think in the first match, I played kind of bad, and he played decent, I guess. And now it was kind of the other way around, I think. I know he doesn't like playing on the stage too much, and I think we're both tired, so I think we both kind of played below our level because I stayed with him in Korea for like 2 months, and I know he's way better than this. And I think I can play better as well, so it's a bit of a disappointing match for me.
Well, despite the fact that you said you were tired, especially in that game when you showed incredible crisis management, there was a lot of tense moments where we saw you barely hold on with some sick disruptor shots. So walk us through that game, and if at any point you felt like it might slip away from you.
The first one? I don't remember much, to be honest. But yeah, I felt like I was losing the game for sure. Like, I couldn't get a 4th base up, so his eco was way better than mine, and he sniped my bases over and over, Liberator harassing me. So I was actually pretty sure I was losing this game, but I'm not sure what happened, to be honest. Like, I guess my army was quite good, and Tempest Disruptor is pretty strong as well, so I kind of came back here.
Not enough Doritos for Juanito, unfortunately, but you just brought up Korea, and I really want to ask you about how that went, as I know you were just there for 2 months, so how was that for you? A lot of people like to describe it as the hyperbolic time chamber. Do you really feel like everything's leveled up now?
I think my PvT improved quite a bit, my PvP as well, but in Korea there's not a lot of Zergs right now, so my PvC, even though I had a good win rate, but I don't have as much practice, I would say, in the matchup as I used to be while in Europe. So I'm not really sure. I think overall I improved, but not like I'm way, way better now.
Well, congratulations again, and get some rest for today, as tomorrow you'll be playing in the playoffs. Let's head back to Nathanias to wrap up day 1 here at the World Championship Series.
Thank you so much, Smix, and congratulations, ShoWTimE, bringing it back. That first game, quite intense. I love that he mentioned he's not even sure. We saw some amazing play out of SpeCial, but the game just slipped out of his hands.
Yeah, it's always a tough way for it to go. You know, that first game, getting a nice edge, but spectacular defensive play from ShoWTimE, just hanging on. And it's one of those things where you've got an advantage and you want to seal the deal, but disruptors are always kind of this hand just saying, nope, you've got to be so careful. You've got to counterattack. You can't force a fight against disruptors. And I mean, those defensive kind of staggered falling back engagements from ShoWTimE, they were fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, for me, at least, the moment when he landed all of the Vikings and the disruptors blew all of them, it's like right after he got the Colossus, it's like, just pull back a little bit.
Yeah. ShoWTimE showed excellent defense, and I think he did do the correct composition. He was kind of also like a little bit allowed to get to that like big enough correct composition, because one disruptor, one Tempest does not make a good army, but he got enough units that certainly, as you were saying, like you couldn't really end the game, and in fact you just start throwing away too many units. So well played to come back, and then the second game, just very good defense against when he knew he was on the way. So
yeah, it was really cool there. I mean, he tried out the proxy in that final game, but ShoWTimE was very calm, kind of expanding in the face of it. The hero Zealot, how often do you see a Zealot take down a Reaper and a Starport? Like, what?
Not supposed to happen, yeah. We were talking about that didn't kill anything with that first Reaper, and that's about as bad as it can be for doing that sort of proxy build when you have a probe in your base. But congratulations, ShoWTimE stays alive. SpeCial's been eliminated here from WCS Montreal. Zombie, I believe you were telling me that you have a game going on over there?
It's one of the last matches of tonight. It's Jon Snow versus Huts. They are currently tied up 1-1. The second game was on Acid Plant. Huts did like a 2-base tank push that Jon Snow was a little overeager in defending. Now it's a pretty even game. Not super much has happened, but actually I think we see no third CC again. So tried it once, and Acid Plant's a particularly good map for a push like that. I'm not so sure about Cerulean Falls. There is that space up here that can be abused. There's not a lot of creep spread, so that might be Hut's plan, but
do you think a good way to play at the end of the day when everyone's a little bit, tired, everyone's been playing lots of games as well, maybe catch your opponent with the aggressive play, get the momentum going?
I mean, I think so. I think it is going to be the new map pool thing to do the tank pushes, and 2-base obviously a little more powerful, so.
ShoWTimE, despite that victory, was very clear. It's like, yeah, we're tired, man. It's been a long day one. It's 10:20 over here on the East Coast. So with that being said, we're going to take one more look at the groups, as group stage 3 is just about done. Here are the results. Wow, shocker. Cyril makes it out in first place with Denver.
Taking it out over Stefano. Stefano was looking so good in that set for Cyril, even though he went down 0-2, but Zerg vs. Zerg continues to be the nemesis.
Yeah, unlucky.
Yep, now let's take a look at Group B. Rainer and ShoWTimE getting out. SpeCial and Expect eliminated. SpeCial, one of the most consistent players that we have in the WCS, is not even going to be making it to the round of 16. We're seeing the impact of more good players coming into the circuit
Yeah.
Like players like Raynor.
Yes, Raynor had a weird showing for challenger for this event, but that was clearly a once-off thing. So to see him first is not necessarily the most surprising thing, but then it was a toss-up between ShoWTimE and SpeCial, and I think SpeCial is still the more shocking one as he has the more consistent results.
Yeah, scary Zerg to play against, especially if you've seen his GSL matches. And in Group C, Semper makes it out in first place, meaning that Cyan and Mana are eliminated, and Neeb had to barely squeeze in. And we talked about his travel woes, but man, Semper first place, that's just a crazy result for him.
Absolutely, that's so big. You know, he's been getting good for a while, but I think I also heard whispers that this might be his last kind of event where he's
More than
practicing really
whispers.
hard.
Yeah, he's got to go to law school, right? So.
Well, he's graduating, so he's got to go do the law.
Got to do the law. Okay.
He's gonna do the lore.
Oh yeah, bar exam is a nightmare. I don't know how it works in Canada. But yeah, Group D, Haas in first place, and you guys were just talking about Jon Snow and Hut are in that final deciding map. But Haas coming in strong, and I think this is very clear upset here. Clem being eliminated from this group. We've hyped him up a lot, and he looked pretty good in his previous matches.
Yeah, him and Hut were having a really back and forth TvT earlier. It was very scrappy and down and dirty, but yeah, it's tough. You know, you've got to get a lot of experience at these events. There's players coming out from all corners of the globe with weird styles. Everyone's playing different openings.
So I just want to say, so impressive out of Hut, a player we do not get to see compete at this level. Very, very much at all. So just shout out to him. Great games. Group F, or excuse me, E, we've got DNS and Xanster making it out over a Laser and Pro. I think this was another one of the upsets, right? A Laser not making it to the round of 16.
Yeah, DNS, he chose a banger of a WCS stop to decide to actually like advance forward more than people expect. I mean, I know he's been in round of 32s before, but round of 16s, but to knock out a Laser, to help knock out a Laser, and then Xanster also like, you know, suddenly shooting it back up, beating him like this. That wasn't really supposed to happen. I mean, they're strong players, but a Laser was supposed to come out first in that group and then continue the BlizzCon dream. And it just isn't happening at this event for a lot of people.
Yeah, that group just in crazy results. And it gets even crazier. Group F, Shadowne and Hero Marine means that Masa and True, two contenders, are out. And to me, that is just nuts.
And I think what's nuttier is that I really thought when Hero Marine and True rematched, I was like, well, that was just such a good performance by Hero Marine. So we're not worried about this, right? We have to be worried about everyone. And it was a 2-1 in the decider. So like that could have been like another weird upset with Hero Marine, top 4 finish or not advancing. But he is one of the, I don't want to say lucky ones, but he still lives on.
Just crazy, crazy results. Thermal and Scarlet make it out of their group. Nurchio and Hearthstone eliminated, and that's. I think a lot of Scarlet
group there.
Yeah, very, very painful group. All 4 players, I mean, worthy of making it out and further past the round of 16 for sure.
That was a real heartbreaker. I think he had a lot of fan favorites, and I guess the biggest fan favorite, you know, clearly got through, and that's great. But I mean, Hearthstone was actually bringing it back, and then Nurchio was just not. Well,
Hearthstone brought some cool builds too. You know, he was doing that weird like triple Stargate and to carry everything, and it didn't work in the first match we had on stage. With Roddy was like, yeah, it did work in the other matches. So great games, but Thermal and Scarlet make it out. Nuts matches. In Group H, Lambo and Time get out over Kellizer and Namshar.
Yeah, you know, Time did end up using a build which I see having an insane win rate in tournament matches against Namshar in their final match.
Have you ever seen it lose?
I haven't actually. You know, I don't watch a lot of StarCraft matches though. So I don't know. Sometimes I just see people build barracks outside their opponent's base and win games. But honestly, Time is playing fantastic. He looks so good here.
Cool stories coming out. A lot of these players that we don't really see make it this far, and especially the younger players. Honestly, Raynor's performance is so cool. His first year being able to play in these WCS events, just doing crazy well. And that's our first day. Is that game over yet? I'm really curious.
No, it's kind of being decided though. It's pretty hype. I was saying it was a 2-base all-in that did not work kind of officially. Like Jon Snow gave up his 4th base. He learned from the last game, like very pointedly so, and I believe he is going to win because of it. Hut actually brought SCVs. This is not the first time he brought a bunker. To the bush. So.
I didn't know about this. Okay.
I've been watching it over your shoulder there.
That's a way to play
StarCraft. A few weird pushes. Like there's been 3 Liberators in the main, and like when the front got busted, he kind of cleared out a lot of.
Yeah, it looks like Jon Snow just going to come all the way around this army.
2-2 versus
off
1-1
creep
as well.
Yeah, it's off creep, but there's just no tanks to support this. The Marines get killed, the Banelings get on top of them, and I guess that's it. We're literally watching it unfold in front of us. Jon Snow should be moving on. What an awesome tournament result for him as well.
That's pretty insane because he's been a little less consistent than the usual North American consistent guy. So to come into Montreal, where I think he's not really been feeling like this is my time, for it to actually be his time, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and just awesome. I think that's it. That was like one of the last matches we were waiting for.
Yeah, that is the last match here in the round of 32.
The final game.
So Jon Snow, the final player to get seeded into the top 16.
It's so interesting that so many good players came out second place in their group, and a lot of these guys were like, "Oh yeah, it's like wow, I can't believe it. They, Semper made it out first. Jon Snow makes it out second." It's like, well, some of those matches could get really interesting as well. I'm like, I hear a Marine versus Semper potentially, some stuff like that. Crazy first day.
ShoWTimE, Neve, Hero Marine, all second seeds. It's going to be scary, dude.
Yeah, this bracket, everything is just going to be weird, ladies and gentlemen. This first day of WCS has been awesome. Thank you so much for your insight and your analysis. Anything you guys want to say before we wrap up?
It's been an amazing first day. I think the next 2 days are just going to get better and better, as always. Can't wait, man.
The round of 16 is going to be so cool. I can't wait to see the matches, man. Like, when they announce those, I don't know, hours from now or something like that, I'm just going to be... I mean, I don't think
it's going to be good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
It's going to be good.
25% NA representation as well in that top 16.
NA is doing pretty well.
Not bad.
America.
Yeah, they're making up for Austin, where they did pretty badly.
Yeah, exactly. So, with that being said, that concludes day number 1 here of our final circuit stop for the year in the StarCraft World Championship Series. Join us tomorrow as we progress forward with the round of 16. We'll see you then.